Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I am continuing with Final Fantasy III for the PSP. So in my last episode, we revitalized the water crystal in the Cave of Tides. Now, unfortunately, by doing that, we also had to say goodbye to Arya, because she was attacked by another of the lieutenants of Zandi, who was named Kraken. The Kraken Battle was pretty difficult, but we did manage to get through it with minimal casualties other than Arya, unfortunately. So after we revitalized the crystal and defeated Kraken, there was a massive earthquake as time was unfrozen on the surface world, and basically this village was revealed. Then we passed out, and the old person from the wrecked ship from a few episodes ago actually saved us, apparently, and brought us to this new town which is named Amur. Now, we find out from that old man that essentially our ship is currently fastened with a chain that prevents us from actually moving around on the seas. Now, we can still move around overland, we just can't go onto the water yet. So we're going to have to go check that out because Goldar, as he is called, not from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but he has affixed this chain to our ship, so we need to find out why he did this. Although we know it's because he doesn't want us coming after the crystal. Although that's, again, telling us, hey, if you want to unhook your ship, you're going to have to come after me and my crystal. So that's basically our next task, is figuring out how to do that. Now, to get to Goldar's mansion, where he is actually located, we have to cross a swamp or a bog. And this bog is actually bottomless. So we're going to have to find some Levigrass Shoes in order to do that. Now, we don't know where those are, but we're going to hope that someone in town can actually tell us where to go to find them. So if we activate this piano, everyone is actually going to get up and start dancing, because that is the appropriate response if someone starts playing a piano. And Luneth can actually produce some pretty interesting sounds from this piano that are beyond just piano sounds. I kind of like it. Like, my way of sort of seeing this is that he has no idea these people are actually running around and dancing behind him because of how they jump out and do it and then jump back. And so I like to imagine it that he's like, wait a minute, was something going on behind me? And yes, it was. They were all dancing. But we want to explore the rest of this town because in our last episode, because we revitalized a brand new crystal, we actually have some new job classes. Now, I'm not going to talk about those immediately. I'll talk about them once we get to the weapon and armor shop, and I can show off kind of the equipment associated with those classes. So in the meantime, we're going to continue to explore here in town. There are some items we can pick up, and there's a few kind of encounters we want to get into with some of the citizens to, again, give us a better sense of what to do next. So we're going to walk around and talk to people. There is a Mog in this town as well, a Moogle, so you can continue to pass letters on to continue with the side questing. Although there's not really any new letters at this point, although after the next area there will be some new letters for us to get to. So this is where the Moogle is located. As I mentioned, nothing new for us right now, but there will be some new letters in the very near future. Now, this town is located on a lot of little islands with these rivers or waterways kind of located in between. We're going to skip the item and, well, not the item shop, but the weapon and armor shop for now, because we can actually find some of the armor that we're going to be using in the very near future as hidden items in this town. So you'll notice that we cannot access the waterways because they are locked. In order to unlock that, we have to actually talk to the elder of this town. And I'm getting caught on these stupid bridges often, which is annoying. So that's where the sewers are located, which a lot of the people in town are actually directing us to, but is currently overflowing with monsters and locked by the elder. So if we talk to this person, she will mention the legend of the four warriors of light or darkness. And then these guys show up. It's true, it's true. And we're like, what is that all about? In essence, they believe they are the four legendary warriors. Inconceivable. Now I could, make the reference here, and I will, to Princess Bride. I am not sure that means what you think it does. But we're going to head into the Elder's shop here, and we're going to talk to the Elder. And he is shocked. He doesn't know who we are. Who's it? What do you want? And we're going to let him know, well, we need to get into the sewers because we've heard that that's where the Levigrass Shoes are. And that is something we need in order to go confront Goldar. And he's going to say, well, are you the 4 warriors of legend? Could that be? Is it possible? And then these old guys are going to show up again. I don't know where they are. They're in some hidden spot in the wall that is actually inaccessible by us anyway. But they hear the plan that we have, and they decide that they're going to head into the sewers. They're going to try to find the Levigrass Shoes before us. Tally-ho! And Gil, the leader of the town, is going to unlock the sewers and allow us to access them. Because he's convinced, that's all it took, was us saying, hey, we're the 4 heroes. We're the warriors of the light. Open it up for us. And he's like, okay, your story checks out, makes sense to me. Let's do this. So there we go. Mind the stench. We will try to do so. But before we head to the sewers, we want to outfit our party members again. So if we head up here to the north, there is a little garden, and you can access some Geisel greens. Again, if you ever want to access the Fat Chocobo. But the real items of interest, the real hidden items that we want, are actually to the west and also to the north on another island. So on this particular island, if you zoom in, you will see some hidden items, and they are the equipment for the thief class. So we get a black garb, we get a thief gloves, and then we also get the black cowl. Now we're going to head back to the weapon and armor shop, and I'm going to show off basically what we're going to be doing for the foreseeable future. So what I'm going to do is change the class of one of my characters. So what's interesting about Goldar in the next area is that he is actually pretty resistant to magic attacks. So we're not actually going to be using a black mage anymore, at least for now. So we're going to change Ark to a Dragoon. Now the Dragoon is one of the new classes that was unlocked from the Water Crystal, along with the Viking, the Dark Knight, the Evoker, and the Bard. So the Dragoon is pretty similar to past Final Fantasies, or future Final Fantasies, I guess, in that it is a class that equips spears and allows you to jump off of the screen and attack enemies with that jump command. The Viking is a physical attacker that can also provoke enemies into attacking it. The Evoker is a summoner class that uses summon magic that we do not have access to. The Bard is a status or, ability sort of class that allows you to sing songs and put on certain abilities that are constant effects on your party. And the last new class is the Dark Knight class. Now I like the Dark Knight class a lot. It is a pretty good frontline fighter, especially in some areas of the game. And it has a ability that allows you to attack all enemies at the same time, with the trade-off being it does HP damage. So this is an ability that was then reused in Final Fantasy IV with Cecil. Now, I'm not going to use the Dark Knight right now because we don't have access to a lot of the equipment for a lot of these jobs that is necessary. So we're going to change Ark to a physical class, a melee class, and it's going to be the Dragoon because the Dragoon is actually going to be very useful for the rest of the game. So I want to start building up his job levels associated with that class. And then we're going to keep Luneth as the Thief class, because the Thief is actually very powerful with some new weapons that they're going to get. So Luneth actually is going to get access to... You could use these daggers, and they're pretty powerful, but we're actually going to buy some spears for Ark, and we're going to buy some boomerangs for Luneth. And the boomerangs are actually thrown weapons. You don't throw them with the throw command, but they are as effective from the back row. So you can actually move Luneth now to the back row with the boomerangs equipped. He'll do the same amount of damage, which is quite a bit, and he is now protected by being in the back row as well. And for arc, we're going to equip both spears. Now we want a heroic shield as well. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but some of the shields in this game actually protect you from ailments as well. And the heroic shield actually protects you from petrify as well as the sleep ailments. So we want that for some future encounters where that will be helpful. So we're going to head into the sewers here. Sewers is pretty straightforward. It's not a huge dungeon. Some pretty cool ambiance here. And the encounter rate, again, seems to change. So the middle floors seem to have a higher encounter rate than the first floor or the lower floors. And what's also interesting about the sewers is that the enemies in here will leave. So once you finish the sewers, at least in my experience with the sewers, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the encounter rate just goes down to a very, very low rate. But it seems that if you come back into the sewers after finishing the sewers, the enemies are all gone. So if you do want to get into the encounters with all the enemies down here for your bestiary, make sure to do that the first time you go through the sewers. Or at least don't finish the sewers until you've encountered everything. So again, the enemies are weak to lightning if they're weak to anything. We are very strong. They're not going to offer much resistance. And there isn't really a ton to be worried about per se in terms of enemies doing ailments or anything like that with their abilities. There's nothing that really jumps out. No cockatrices, for example, in this particular area. Now, what is notable is what's going to happen right now. So as we cross this little bridge, we get a fade to white, and we re-encounter the 4 old men. And they are being accosted by these 4 toads, and we feel terrible. We have to help them, right? Even though they are the 4 heroes, maybe. It's our job to make sure they're okay. So these things are pretty easy, as you might expect. They're not super difficult, which shows how sad it is that these old men are actually terrified of these enemies. So we're just going to quickly mow through them really fast. And then we're going to check on the old men. Now you want to make sure you do follow up with the old men, because you want to start sending letters to them. It serves as a trigger to actually start that letter chain. And that letter chain is one of the requirements to unlock the secret dungeon in this game that actually has the most difficult enemy that is possible to fight. But we are not going to talk about that for a very long time, because that does not become accessible until much later in the game. So the old men are thankful. They say, "Thanks for saving us. We'll talk to him again." And I realize I never moved Luneth to the back row, which is silly. So let's do that and then, of course, heal. And they don't have much to say. That their training wasn't much, essentially, that now they believe we are the true 4 warriors, and that they're going to rest and recuperate before heading back. And enjoy the ambiance, such as it is, right? Thanks again, eh? Yep. So there's a few more floors here. Not much to do, but what's interesting about this next floor is that there are some hidden areas. Now, they're not hidden well, as you can see, but they do lead to some chests. So you can get some new equipment. Now, some of it's old equipment, like the diamond bell, which we've had access to for quite a while, but you also can get the hammer, which is a weapon that can be used by the Viking class. Now, the Viking class is an interesting class. So, it is a primary physical attacker. It has one of the highest strength stats in the game. And it also has a very high vitality stat. The problem with the Viking class is that essentially its provoke ability doesn't work a lot of the time until it's much higher leveled. So once your job level is at a much higher level, that is the main determinant of whether or not the provoke ability activates. And you don't necessarily want to be using provoke unless you have all shields equipped on your Viking character. So actually equipping 2 shields. Now we're going to throw on the power bracers here because they're better than our thief gloves. We're not going to put on the poison dagger, because again, if we did, we'd have to move Luneth back to the front row. We'll consider it for the future, but for now, we're going to stick with the boomerangs. So the Viking is a class you can consider. It is helpful in some instances when you're fighting certain enemies to try to provoke them to just attack the Viking. But for now, it's not helpful, so we're not going to use it. And we're not going to use really any of the other classes, again, that we accessed from the water crystal, because we don't have the equipment, or they're just not helpful in the near future. So we meet a new person who's apparently living in the sewers, and that is Delilah. And Delilah's on this little island here. And she is an interesting character. She calls us some names, and then is like, okay, whatever. No matter. If you came all this way, I'm going to give you the Levigrass Shoes. So here you go. Heads up! And throws the shoes at us. And then we hear, watch out! And apparently the shoes exploded. So the old men we saved us from a trap. So basically they recognized the shoes as being fakes, and they wanted us not to get hurt. Because apparently this Delilah was going to hurt us. So thanks to them, they've saved us, and they're also going to actually teleport us out of the sewers once we're done talking here. So they convinced Delilah to give us the real Levigrass shoes. And what's interesting here is she's like, well, if you're asking, then I'll do it. So I guess something about them promotes them to actually do that, to give us the actual shoes. So now we have the Levigrass shoes, we can get across the Bottomless Bog, we can go take out Goldar, and we can continue onward with the main quest here. Get the next crystal, as well as unchain our ship, which is currently locked outside of Amur. So we will start that entire process in my next episode. So as always, viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and next time, we're going to head to the Mansion of Gold, and we're going to pick up a lot of golden swords. So long.